morning. My name is Anna Holtzclaw, and I'm the local director of ULI Memphis serving the Mid-South. On behalf of the local board and staff and volunteers that make today and all the other ULI events possible during the year, welcome and thanks for being here. An event like today does not happen without the support and passion of a lot of people. To our 34 partners and sponsors, thank you. In particular, I want to thank the National ULI Office, the Delta Regional Authority, and the Daily News, who supported this event from the concept stage before we even had really an agenda pulled together, and they really allowed us to launch faster and stronger than we could have ever imagined. In addition, ULI does not have any full-time staff, so we are dependent on a team of people who dedicate a portion of their careers to making ULI work. Anna Ritz, Carrie Hayes, and Martha Carter all have played critical roles in the concept and delivery of today's event. We're also very dependent on the support of our colleagues. Paul Young, Rebecca Kaufman, and David McKinney have been tremendous partners in making Region Smart a reality. And this event would not be taking place if Frank Ricks, who served as the ULI liaison for both the Mayor's Council and Region Smart, and the vision and support of the entire local ULI board led by Earl Williams. Thanks to all of you. In 2013, ULI Memphis convened a group of mayors from the tri-state area. At this meeting, many of the mayors asked us, "What's the agenda? Why are we here?" Our response to this was that ULI believes that thinking and acting regionally is a competitive advantage. And the first step was for all of the mayors to get to know each other. We said to them, what you do with this time is up to you. If you want to get together and eat barbecue and drink beer, that's fine with us. As long as you're getting to know each other, ULI's agenda is being met. Well, the group took form, and for the last 3 years, they have met 6 times a year with guest speakers on topics such as education, workforce development, and transportation. We've had mayors of peer cities visit and site selectors from across the country who shared their perspectives on how the Mid-South stacks up when competing with other metro areas. And then last summer, coincidentally, over beer and barbecue at a Redbirds game, Mayor Luttrell posed the question, how do we get our constituents and community leaders involved in a conversation about the power of regional collaboration? Mayors Jeff Huffman and Chip Johnson enthusiastically jumped on board as the planning committee, and Region Smart was born. A few weeks ago, I took a call about Region Smart logistics in front of my 10-year-old daughter. I hung up the call, and she asked, "What's happening on April 28th? I hear you talking about it a lot." I told her that we were planning a meeting for people to talk about how we could make our corner of Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, and northern Mississippi better. Her response was, "So you're going to talk about things like pollution and transportation?" Now, the point of this is not that my 10-year-old is brilliant. The point is, although I think she is, the point is that she has been exposed to these topics, so she gets it, and she's ready for all of us to start talking about it too. So that's what I hope today does for us in attendance, that it gives us a common vocabulary and shared stories that we will use to develop relationships that will take the Mid-South to places that today we can only dream about. I've had the honor of getting a preview of much of what you are about to see and hear today, and I have to say, you are in for a fantastic day. As a colleague of mine said when she saw the agenda, this is the type of day that changes conversations. One of the themes you will hear today is that collaboration starts with relationships. So with that in mind, my challenge to each of you today is to meet someone new. Maybe they're from a different zip code or a different state. Maybe they have the same zip code as you, but you haven't crossed paths before. Have a conversation with them. Start a new relationship. And years from now, I hope we all look back at today and say, that is where I met you. That is where my vision changed for what the Mid-South can do together. That was when we started. Longtime educator, printer, and bookmaker Dolph Smith was recently profiled in Memphis Magazine, and he said the following, quote, "I began years ago to create a mythological region I called Tenarkippy. It's an apolitical, partisan community, upbeat and a little loony. It is my version of the Mid-South, and in it I can go as far as my imagination can take me." Find that new person in the audience today and tell them what your vision of the Mid-South looks like, and then let's go make that happen together. Again, thank you all for being here, and welcome to Region Smart 2016. At this time, I'd like to invite my friend and colleague, Mayor Mark Luttrell, to the podium.
Well, thank you, Anna, and certainly for all the hard work that you personally have invested in this. I think those of us who were enjoying a dog and a beer at a Redbirds game really appreciate the people who get out and do the hard work, and you certainly have been the point person in all of this. You know, I could start, as you typically do at events like this, thanking all the elected officials, but I think we'd spend the next 2 hours recognizing all the elected officials. So I will just say as a group, elected officials, thank you all for setting the standard this morning and being a part of what I think will be the catalyst for some great work that can be done in this area. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't just really highlight our Memphis City Mayor, who's newly elected and jumping in to so many things. He drinks his water from a fire hose every morning. But Jim Strickland is with us this morning. Jim, thank you for being a part of this. And also the man that approves my budget every year must be recognized, County Commission Chairman Terry Rowland, and several of our county commissioners that are here as well. But during the course of the day, you're going to hear from academics, you're going to hear from politicians, you're going to hear from practitioners, you're going to hear from any number of people who are, quote, experts in the field of regional planning, regional collaboration, and all of the above. But you know, I don't think any one of us has the gold ring. And I don't know that we ever will have the gold ring that gives us the answers to all the challenges that we face. But what I would hope would come from a convening like this would be, first of all, a deeper appreciation for the roles that each of us play in our respective communities, and how we can leave here today with a deeper appreciation of how we can work with others to reach the objective of the furtherance of our particular community and certainly our region. You know, one of the discussion points that led us to this day was very simply the fact that we're in a metropolitan statistical area that includes 3 states that have all of the different rules and regulations and laws that apply to those 3 states. We have 10 counties representing those 3 states, each configured in a different way. But if you look at the priorities of each of the 3 states and each of the 10 counties, you see that we have much more in common than we have issues that separate us. So as we convene today, let's focus on those things that we have in common and how we can collaborate even better, and how we can leave here today with a better understanding of what will be the next step. You know, other regions across the country have been doing convenings like this for years and years. Unfortunately, we have not. But I'm hoping that this will be the first of many to come. And as we continue to move through this learning process, we can see our numbers grow, because we want more than just political figures at this event. Political figures are important, but as I've said too often, government is not the solution to all of our problems. The solution to our problems resides in our communities, in our focus groups, in our faith community, and in our education community, in our corporate community, in our small business community, in those communities where the real experts reside. And what we can take away from this is that politicians can be the catalyst for change by really reaching out and including those elements of the community that really make a difference. I'd now like to introduce a good friend, and I think a great catalyst in his own right, but someone that I've gotten to know since I was elected mayor, and someone who spends a tremendous amount of time here in Memphis, although he's an Arkansan. But Chris Massengale has headed up the Delta Regional Authority for several years now, for about the last 6 years. And Chris is always there when we need just that last dollar to make a project work, or just that last phone call that's needed to get that extra partner on board who truly represents the Delta region in a progressive way. Chris, you're a friend. You're someone that I've relied on heavily, and I take a great deal of pleasure in introducing Chris Massengale, Delta Regional Authority, for appropriate comments. Thank you, my friend.
Mayor, thank you very much. That's awful kind of you. And I want to say congratulations on such a successful event. Anna, you and your team, this is the kind of stuff that we need to be doing more of. As an organization with the lifeblood and the focus, and at the heart of what we do is all about regionalism. and coming together and having opportunities to share these ideas, to share these issues, to be here, to exchange in this partnership is so important. And I want to congratulate you all for recognizing that and being a part of this meeting. So thank you again for your willingness to step up, be a leader, and make this happen. And I want to say thank you to my team member, Rebecca Kaufman. I don't know where Rebecca is, but I want to say thank you for her and her leadership as we move forward with this. The Urban Land Institute, thank you. Obviously, this is an important organization. I'm glad that we have it here, and I'm glad that we can leverage that for the kind of work that we're doing. And of course, you all as mayors and elected officials, many of you all in this room I've known for a long time. In fact, you have been mentors of mine. You have helped shape me. You have put a knot in my rear end from time to time. You have really helped me understand the issues that you face at the local level. That's how I got my start. And I'll tell you, you mayors and county judges and other local chief elected officials, you have the worst job in government. People love you and hate you all at the same time. And yes, it gets more and more challenging. We're asking you to make sure that the potholes are filled and the trash is picked up. But we're also asking you to think about things in bigger and broader ways. We're asking you to think about long-term disaster recovery and resiliency. We're asking you to take a leadership role in economic development, to understand what your role is as a chief elected official on that process. Not to be a project manager, not to manage the economic development, but to understand what your vision and your leadership is. I would suspect that most of the local elected officials in this room ran on some type of economic development platform. So having you involved in that process is critically important, particularly when it comes to closing deals, when it comes to the economic development pieces in this part of the region. The other thing that I would say to you is that as we think about this, and particularly from our perspective, when we think about this regionalism concept, we've talked about this for a long time. It is our core mission at DRA. Well, one of the things I'd like to emphasize to you is this urban-rural connection. It is something that is very real. It is something that we need to do more of to build that strength, that connection, that alignment between the urban core and the rural pieces. In fact, we know that particularly as an economic development practitioner, that this stuff has a major impact in economic development. Trying to create jobs, build communities, improve lives. That's our mission at DRA. But oftentimes we have a hard time getting our partners at the local level to see the real value of this linkage. We know that through now research, particularly when we're trying to see the longitudinal aspect of this, some researchers say that those communities that are truly connected between their urban core and their rural partners have a greater productivity, increased GDP, and in fact, some studies say up to 5%. Now think about the buying power and the economic impact that this region has. One of the reasons that I focus so much on the Mid-South, this particular piece, is because of the economic anchor it has for our entire region. The DRA footprint consists of 8 states, 252 counties and parishes, almost 10 million people. We've got about 3 core economic centers. Well, guess which one really drives the entire economics of the entire river? The lifeblood of our economy right here behind us. It's here. It's this part of the region. And so when I encourage you and emphasize to you that we need to strengthen that link between the urban and rural communities, that's very important. The urban communities rely on the rural workforce. They rely on the natural resources. The rural part of our region, in fact, rural America, feeds the world. And actually, on the other side of that coin, rural America depends on our cities, our urban cores, for their health care, particularly in our rural parts that do not have a fully developed healthcare system. They rely on the ability of the innovation that's coming out of our rural communities. The stuff that we're doing in small business and entrepreneurship, that stuff happens here. We got some great examples of it. What we're doing with StartCo, Memphis BioWorks, the Epicenter, being able to take those models and what we're seeing through those experiences and putting those into our rural communities. This link is very real. And part of my message to you all today is making sure to please keep that on the table in your discussions, because we need to strengthen that. We need to stop looking at each other as competitors. Yes, we're going to have our own identity. We're going to play each other on Friday night. We're going to have those unique opportunities to highlight our own individualism. But when it comes to your work, when it comes to addressing transportation, healthcare disparities, being inclusive, economic development, those things cross political subdivisions. In fact, my years of actually managing projects, I cannot remember a single time of the hundreds of projects that I worked on trying to close deals when I was working for Governor Beebe in Arkansas. How many businesses said, hey, where is the city limit sign? What's the county borders? Where's the state line at? They don't care. They don't care where that line is, because for them it's about moving the economy forward. It's about creating those jobs and moving their business in a successful way. We need to take that same approach. Yes, you're going to have your own responsibilities. You have your own dynamics. But on these issues that we are challenged with in the Delta region, we cannot solve those alone in Memphis. We can't solve those alone in West Memphis or Blytheville or Tunica. These are issues that we have to tackle together. When you look at the resources that are being deployed in this country, federal resources and access to those are fair inherently. We all have access to it. We can all apply. But let me be very clear. The resources that are invested in our part of the country, when you look at where these resources go, they do not come here. And the numbers pale in comparison when you look at the West Coast, East Coast. We have to create more capacity. This is the second thing I'd like to mention to you real quickly. We just finished our 5-year strategic plan. By Congress, every year I have to redo our economic investment plan over 5 years. I was able to put it off for a couple of years because we had just finished one. But one of the things that's important about this comment is that what we found through this research and stakeholders like you in this room telling us how we've been able to leverage our investments with you at the local level. Keep doing some of these important things that you're focusing in on. Infrastructure. Of course, infrastructure is important. Workforce training and education, which is our #1 issue, particularly in economic development. But this third one is increasing capacity at the local level. Capacity of your leadership, of leaders, public officials. Increase capacity when it comes to your small business's ability to grow. Increase capacity of nonprofits and organizations to actually manage resources and to be more impactful in what they're doing with their programming. These 3 areas is what we are going to continue to focus on as an investment entity with you. Because at the end of the day, it is truly about being competitive in a 21st century global economy when we're competing around the world. And I will back up to no one or no place when it comes to advocating for this part of the country. Our communities, our people can compete with anybody in the world. We are some of the most iconic places in the country. Our culture, our tourism, our heritage, our food, our music. And yes, we love to get together and eat barbecue and drink cold beer and even some brown water from time to time. And that's okay, because it's these type of environments that highlight how important these issues are. So when you go back at the end of the day and you're taking these ideas, I want to tell you how much we appreciate your leadership. I want to tell you how much we appreciate your partnership. And I want you to know we want to continue to be a partner with you on the front lines. Please reach out to us. You can call me directly. My cell number is 501-772-9686. 501-772-9686. In fact, I got my alternate federal co-chairman here as well, a former mayor from Sikeston, Missouri, Mike Marshall. There you are, Mike. Stand up and say hello. He's on the road as much as I am. We travel 4 days a week, and it's something that we love and we're not going to stop doing. And so for that, I want to say thank you and let you know how much we appreciate you. So now I have the opportunity to introduce to you somebody that actually is no stranger to DRA and this part of the region, because he's actually worked with us through a program that we call the Delta Leadership Institute. When we talk about this capacity building, part of that is actually this leadership development. And I bet you, many of you in this room, particularly if you're a mayor or a county judge, how many of you all have been through the Executive Academy of the Delta Leadership Institute? I saw Bill this morning. Raise your hand, Mike. Well, this is something that we'll continue to invest in. If you have an interest in being a part of this year-long leadership training, please let us know. DRA.gov, we're actually going to open up the application period for the next cycle here pretty quick. It's something that we really believe in. But Dr. Johnson actually is a part of that. He comes and does presentations for us all the time. He is one of the smartest individuals that we have reached out to be a part of our brain trust when it comes to the impacts of demographics, when it comes to talking about the impact of our population on small businesses, on entrepreneurship, the ability to be inclusive. This is a professor that understands what these numbers mean. This is an individual that I have seen take some very complicated pieces of information and share it with you in a way where you understand, hey, these trends are real. What's happening here is much deeper than what we see in the news. We are here at the surface level trying to say, hey, this is what this is about. And after you spend 30 minutes or so with Dr. Johnson, you have a good understanding that there is whole other elements to this that you truly didn't understand. This is a guy who has wrote plenty of articles and books and publishing his scholarly endeavors, but the most important thing I'll share with you is that he understands this region. He understands the issues that you are dealing with, and particularly when it comes to the demographics and seeing how this impacts what we're trying to do at the local level. He's the right person for this conversation. So at this time, I'd like to ask Dr. James Johnson to please come forth, and the floor is yours.